What you're going to see tonight is the fact that we have a huge fentanyl issue in our city. So if you don't know, kind of over the last 8-9 years, methamphetamine has been kind of the king here in the state of Kansas and in the Wichita area. When the heroin epidemic hit, some of the other stuff hit on the East Coast, and then through kind of the Rust Belt, Ohio, Kentucky, those areas, it skipped us here. This one ain't skipping us. And so I'll have some statistics to show you where we're at in this community. But we are a very drug-addicted society, and we are a very drug-addicted community here. Plain and simple. It is something that methamphetamine is a man-made drug which cannot kill you if you ingest it. It can kill you over time because it eats you from the inside out. So, not getting into mental illness too much tonight, but part of our problems with the influx of mental illness issues that we have in this community is brought on by methamphetamine because it eats away brain cells that you never get back. So when you see folks that are addicted to meth and they have the open sores, the rotting teeth, their teeth falling out, their hair falling out, that's why. Well, the same thing happens to the brain and they never recuperate that. Fentanyl, on the other hand, is a very powerful opioid. And so if you don't know what fentanyl is used for, it is used for pain, but it's also used as an anesthesia. If you get a surgery, it's minor milligrams of fentanyl that they're giving you to put to sleep. This stuff here is all cartel driven. It's all made in Mexico, pressed into pills. They have no idea how much powder fentanyl they're putting into that. And when you take a pill, you could have, a small amount or you could have a bigger amount. There's no idea of telling. So what we've done is when we started seeing the overdose or poisonings that were taking place, the deaths, a bunch of us got together and said, hey, we need to start educating mainly our youth. And so between us, the Wichita Police Department, the Wichita Crime Commission, Mental Health and Substance Abuse Coalition, SAC, which is Substance Abuse Center of Kansas, and YEEP, which is the Youth Educational Empowerment Program, we all came together and said, how can we best educate about this powerful drug? And so I'll walk you through kind of what we've been doing. There is a group out of California, and it's two fathers that started it. The gentleman you see here was a lieutenant with the homicide unit in the city that he lived in. The other man was a pretty well-to-do businessman. They lost a daughter and a son to fentanyl overdose. So they've created a help group for parents or grandparents, those type of things, that have lost their loved ones to fentanyl overdoses. What you'll see here, and I'll bring my mic down, is part of their video. This is one of the most impactful videos I've ever seen. So there's only just a clip of it. It's about a 15-minute video. But it's called Dead on Arrival.
This would be how much cocaine somebody would have to ingest to kill them. This is the approximate number of prescription pills one would have to ingest to kill them. This is the amount of heroin the average person would have to ingest to kill them. Fentanyl. You're gonna have to bring that camera up here real close to see it. This much fentanyl would kill you and I if we split it. They put fentanyl in cocaine. They put fentanyl in heroin. They put fentanyl, as we already know and talked about, into counterfeit pills. It's odorless, it's tasteless, you don't know it's there. And when you find out it's there, it's too late. You won't even know it. You'll be dead.
Alex was in her bedroom at night, getting ready for bed. She went on social media in search of oxycodone. It wasn't hard for her to find a drug dealer. and she had what she thought was oxycodone delivered to our house. One pill had enough fentanyl to kill 5 people. My daughter took half of this pill and died instantly. In an instant, my life was changed forever. My last memory of my daughter is of her being wheeled out on a gurney. I saw my daughter brought into this world, and I saw her leave this world.
So, I think the first question was, do they smoke it? And the answer to that is yes. You can ingest it through a pill. So, what he was demonstrating there was the fact that how much cocaine it would take for you to take to overdose, how much heroin you would have to take to overdose, and then fentanyl. Basically, the best way I can describe it is, it's like granules of salt. If you get 1 granule, it might not kill you. If you're a kid and you don't have a high tolerance, that can still kill you. You get 3 granules of this stuff in that pill, it's going to kill you. Plain and simple, because it's that powerful. Generally what we're seeing is, so something to look for with grandkids or kids, they take aluminum foil, they'll put the pill on top of the aluminum foil, they'll put a lighter underneath, which then creates smoke, and then they inhale the smoke. Or you can take it by the pill. This is not something right now that we've seen where they can liquefy it and inject it. And so the reason they prefer to do the smoking aspect of it is because it gets into your system right away. Whereas if you take the pill, it takes a little bit to digest. So what is fentanyl? It's a very powerful synthetic opioid that's 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. It's frequently mixed with other drugs. So we're seeing everything from marijuana. We've seized marijuana with fentanyl laced on it, methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin. It's being mixed with everything. And you have to remember again that it's the cartels doing this in Mexico and shipping it here. And so they're not rocket scientists down there. They're just throwing this stuff together and then they just press them into pills and then send them our way. The other problem with this stuff now is that they've started, and we've had one case here in the Wichita area where they've mixed it with xylazine, which is an animal tranquilizer. And so what fentanyl does, it represses your respiratory system, okay? So it slows down your breathing. That's what kills you. When you mix it with an animal tranquilizer, even if you give them Narcan, it's not gonna reverse the symptoms because of the animal tranquilizer that's in there. The other thing that we're seeing in all these drug dealers, in my opinion, they're always targeting the younger audiences. So when I was a kid, I took Flintstone vitamins. You remember those pastel colors of Flintstone vitamins? They make it in this stuff now. So it's the light greens, the light blues, the light oranges, the light pinks, those type of things. We've seen that here. And so when we talk about, when you see the blue pills here, those are what they used to call Percocets or Perks. Right now, there is no such thing as Percocet pills. The major company, Bayer, who used to produce all the Percocet pills and told everybody you can't get addicted to them, got sued and they're completely out of business. There's nobody making Percocet pills. So everything that is blues or Perks or M30s, it all means the same thing. They are all fake fentanyl pills. The other problem is that Adderall is something that you get prescribed to you if you have like ADHD, those type of things as a kid. You can't get high off of Adderall. They have now started mixing fentanyl in Adderall pills. And so these kids, and I know because I had 4 of them go through high school, these kids sometimes will take those Adderall pills and sell them at school. And so if it didn't come from their prescription, well, first off, they shouldn't be buying them anyway. But I wouldn't, if you have grandkids and stuff, and say, oh yeah, Johnny sold me a Adderall pill, I wouldn't bet that that was Adderall. That was probably a fake Adderall that had fentanyl, because we're seeing overdose deaths or poisonings created by what they thought was Adderall. Xanax, that's the bars up there. That kind of, Xanax makes you kind of sleepy, that type of stuff. They're also putting it in Xanax bars. So the key to it is if you weren't prescribed it, don't take it, plain and simple. Next slide, please. Some of our overdose statistics in 2022, I'll get more into because we're in 2023 now. Basically, we saw in 2018 4 overdose deaths from fentanyl. 19 it went up, 20 it went up, and as you can see, we had 174 in 2021. In 2022, when I got these numbers, was in May, and that's what really alarmed us, was we were already setting in the 70s. We suspected in the 70s by April. We also had 5 kids under the age of 18 that had overdosed and died from fentanyl in about a 2-week period. We had 1 and PD had 4. We've also had 2 kids at the age of 2 because the parents have left it laying around. They ingested it and it killed them. So the thing that I will tell you is why it's difficult to track this is because all those cases go to the Forensic Science Center for autopsy. They have to get a toxicology report, so they suspect that it might be fentanyl. They have to get a toxicology report back saying that it is. Those take 3 to 6 months. We're over 200 right now, 202, and there's 300 pending autopsy cases. And so, you know, some of those are going to be suicide type cases. Some of those are going to be, so not all the autopsies are drug overdoses, but over 50% of them are. And so those numbers are going to go up. And so that's very alarming. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, the overdose count, 23, 28, 90, 161. Again, there was 33 that were here, but that was April. And so I haven't had time to update it because they just updated their statistics January 3rd. And so I haven't put that into the slide. But so far this year, we're right at 201 with another 300 pending autopsy cases.
Is the balance of the numbers the rest of Kansas?
No, so the red, because the Forensic Science Center does autopsies for Harvey, Butler, Harvey, Butler, us, and Kingman. So 4 counties. And so the red is the surrounding area, so 135 would have been just for the Wichita area. This year was 33 surrounding area and 32 just for the Wichita area. Yes, ma'am.
The previous slide that was by age group, at some point, can you speak to the 61 to 80-year-olds?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can now. We don't know much about that particular group, the 61 to 80-year-olds, because fentanyl gets prescribed for cancer patients. And because of age, you can pass away from that. The big ranges that we look at is the 0 to 20 to the 35 to 40. And that's where we see generally the most. Now you'll see from 41 on up, a lot of the times what we're seeing out of those, the 41 to 60-year-olds and some 60s, is folks that are really hardcore drug users and been hardcore drug users for years, took fentanyl, and it was harder than what their system could take. These things are $8 a pill on the streets, so that's why the kids can buy, anybody can pretty much buy them. On the border, they're $1. When we talk about exhibits, and I have another slide that really illustrates this better. So from the point of what an exhibit is something that we've seized on the street, car stop, went into a house, took pills or took marijuana or whatever, that's considered an exhibit to the Forensic Science Center. You can see for 2022 what we've done, what's happened. We've gone from 8 in January, we had 235 just in August alone. I know because all the stats are done now, it's a record number of fentanyl exhibits that we have turned in. You also have to understand with fentanyl, Here 2 years ago, we had a couple of narcotics detectives that did an undercover buy, which they thought was crystal meth. They opened the package and became overcome, and they had to go to the hospital. It turned out to be fentanyl. We don't touch the stuff now. If we see it, we put a mask on, put our gloves on. We don't open it. We don't test it. We immediately put it into a bag, seal it, and send it over to the Forensic Science Center. Part of the reason the Forensic Science Center takes so long is because they got to put on their bunny suits and everything else just to test one thing of fentanyl, because it's so deadly. And so I asked for the methamphetamine stats last week, and fentanyl exhibits, the amount of fentanyl that we're taking off the streets is way surpassing methamphetamine. So it's doing exactly what I thought. Methamphetamine's coming here, fentanyl's doing this. You also have to understand with the cartels, they're business people. Now they might be peddling something that is crazy, but they're business people. So what they do is, the reason methamphetamine went through the roof is they raised the prices on cocaine. So all the people who are strung out on cocaine, they lowered the meth prices to unbelievable prices, so they switched the market. Well, now they're switching the market again to methamphetamine, because they're raising the prices in meth, dropping the prices in fentanyl. So when we talk about the campaign that we went on, okay, so one of the things that we did, Sedgwick County has a drug misuse website, and so you can copy all this down. Basically, the drug misuse website has a specific tab for fentanyl. You click on that fentanyl tab, it's going to tell you everything you want to know about fentanyl. We also put on there the risks of drug misuse, local data, some of the statistics, prevention resources, treatment and recovery options. And so what we built this around, when you saw the one pill can kill, that is the federal government's campaign on fentanyl. DEA, if you go to One Pill Can Kill, that's a DEA website. And everything you want to know, I mean, it is pages and pages and pages of stuff on fentanyl. And so One Pill Can Kill website and the sedgwickcounty.org/drug misuse website for additional information. One of the things that we're asking, we went to a bunch of businesses through the chamber and have asked them on their websites at work to put these pages on there so employees can click and go straight to it. Because I'm just telling you, this drug doesn't matter what race, doesn't matter, as you can see, how old, doesn't matter your gender, it's affecting everybody. And you have a lot of folks that have jobs, good paying jobs, that either they're dealing with it with a family member, they're dealing with it with a kid, or they're dealing with it themselves. And for us, the key to it was getting the education out there to slow down all these overdose deaths that we're having. I'm going to be very honest with you. This group doesn't agree with me. They try to work for everybody. I'm concentrating on the kids because we've got to change the culture of drug use. And this is killing kids. They have no idea what they're taking, and it's killing them. The folks that have been addicted to drugs for years, you see them, the homeless folks, those type of things, I'm not here to educate them because they've been to all these recovery services and everything else, and they're still doing it. My goal is the youth here, plain and simple. Sounds a little bit harsh, but this is such a big issue. It's not something that we can reach everybody on. So some of the print materials that we've done, describing what fentanyl is, as you can see with the penny and just little granules of fentanyl, that's how much it will kill you, or that's how much can kill you. It can be even less than that if you're not a hard drug user. And so what to do to treat for a fentanyl overdose. I've been a cop for 34 years. And when I was on the streets in Northeast Wichita up here, if you were somebody, I caught you with crack cocaine was the big thing back then, crack or whatever else, hey, you're going to jail. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm not into the needle exchange programs that people do around the United States. I don't believe in helping facilitate somebody's drug habit. That's me personally, from being on the law enforcement side. However, I will tell you the Narcan stuff can save you. Am I against Narcan? No, I'm not. We've issued it to all of our deputies. I know the Wichita Police Department has it issued to them. There's clinics that are handing it out. Here's what I'll warn you about though. You're gonna need more than one dose. We've had overdoses inside the jail. It took 5 to bring the guy back. That's how powerful this stuff is. So maybe for some folks, 1 might do it, but generally I see 2 or more that actually bring him back. And literally these folks are dead. They're not breathing. They're dead. But what's amazing is once that stuff takes effect, how quickly they wake up, they're drowsy, they go to the hospital, but they really don't even need to. It's pretty amazing how quickly it offsets it. The problem with it is why they need to go to the hospital. Depending on how much they took, it can bring them out of it. Once that Narcan wears off, they die again. So that's why they have to go to the hospital. And so, those are the things that I would say, if you have somebody in your family or you know of somebody, you probably need to have Narcan on deck at home, unfortunately. So one of the things that we have found is, everything's done over text, over the phone, Snapchat, mainly over Snapchat now at this point.
Hi, I'm Amanda Allen. I'm a high school teacher with over 5 years of experience in the classroom. We all know that texting and emojis are very popular these days, especially among teens. But what you may not know is how these symbols are being used as a secret language to traffic drugs. Certain emojis, when put together, represent an illegal drug like meth, cocaine, and heroin. There are even codes for prescription pills like Percocet and oxycodone that are often laced with deadly fentanyl and meth. By texting these emoji combinations, someone can set up a drug deal. And even if their parents see the message, chances are they won't know what it means. Take a moment to learn these codes and talk to your kids about the dangers of drugs. Open communication is the first step in keeping them safe because one pill can kill.
Snapchat, which I don't have, I hope none of you have, or TikTok, but all the little emblems that you can send, emojis that you can send, they're no longer saying, hey, I need a hit of fentanyl or I need, a dime bag or whatever else. It is all emojis. And so it's taken, anytime law enforcement encounters something new, basically it takes somebody that we've arrested, to be honest with you, in this case, the younger people, that tell us, oh yeah, this is what these symbols mean, and they want fentanyl and meth, or they want just fentanyl, or they want cocaine, or they want cocaine laced with fentanyl. And so there's a whole guide, drug guide, that talks about emojis. That's both on the misuse website and also the DEA website. And so, if you have kids or grandkids, that's something you should probably be paying attention to. I don't know how you all were, but I was paying for my kid's phone. So that's my phone. They didn't like it, but that's my phone. So, it's the only way, if you see that your kids or grandkids have changed friends, maybe become isolated, dropped out of school, have different habits than they normally had, there's probably a lot more going on there that you don't know about. And you need to start paying attention to what they have in their room, to what they have on their phone, to what they're doing with their kids. I was living in a place in Colwich, in a duplex for a little bit here a year and a half ago, and 3 houses down, I knew something was going on down at that house because these teenage kids were in and out, in and out, in and out constantly. They had a kid overdose and die in there, and it was all fentanyl. And so I got our narcs on it early on, arrested a couple other kids, but they wouldn't tell us where they were getting it from, and then a kid overdosed and died in that house. So went through his phone, full of emojis that matched exactly what we were talking about. So that's something else that you have to look for. Next slide. Yep. Fentanyl resources, again, these are all the different resources that we've put together as that collective group of trying to do education with all the websites and awareness videos. Dead on Arrival, you can if you had it, I don't do this very well, but you can scan those codes right there and be able to get on and see the videos and also see the dead on arrival video. So once we started doing this, we did some billboards, we did a lot of advertisement. One of the things that I was very grateful for, you don't usually see the news media working together. And so in May of last year, the anchors from all 3 stations, actually 4, including Fox, and the Eagle, all came together, and for 1 week, they ran nothing but fentanyl, kind of like advertisements, but it had to do with those anchors talking about. They had several set-down interviews, those type of things, to really get that word out, because our problem was the schools getting ready to get out when we recognized this. And we wanted to make sure and get that information out to parents. Kids ain't gonna watch that. We wanted to get it out to parents so that they understood what is going on in our school systems right now and what to look for when the kids were out of school. The other thing that USD 259 did is they sent home a pretty lengthy flyer, but it had all this information. And they had it on their website and those type of things. Kids aren't gonna look at that stuff. And so that's why we had to bring in YEEP, Youth Empowerment, because I'll explain that here in a second, but they're the social media side of this, which is where all the kids are, the TikTok, the Snapchat, all that other stuff. September 8th, we kicked off the official time frame to really start the bigger portion of this education. We had, you see on the bottom, your right-hand corner, that was a family that lost their son. And basically he took half of a fentanyl pill because the other half was still there. And so, good kid. A lot of these kids that I'm talking about were straight A students and athletes. They thought they were taking Percocet. Not that you should be taking that, I understand that, but also kids are gonna experiment. And experimenting with this stuff is not good. So when we talk about the youth empowerment group, what they are is in July, they have a 2-week camp. Basically in that camp, they teach these young kids how to do magazines, how to write the script, how to edit it, how to photograph it, how to make videos, all that other stuff. And they were already in some of the school systems. So we partnered with them. They've created what's called Riverside High. And it's like a comic book that's in the schools. They've also done videos of this. So basically, it's kind of how kids talk without the cussing, how kids talk nowadays, and issues. So, you know, they did one whole series on fentanyl. They do other stuff on date rape stuff. They do other stuff on bullying. They do other stuff on cyberbullying. So they have different topics, and it's the kids, like all these kids here that you see in the video, well, they're all part of YEEP, that program that they have. And they've done a fantastic job of engaging kids. And so much so they are housed out of a church down south, and they're getting ready to move to Town West, to one of the shops there where they're going to set up, have people in there all the time and kids in there on weekends, because you know the malls is where kids hang out at, and be able to give out information, those type of things. So they've been a phenomenal partner.
On the last episode of Riverside High, we introduced you to Sabrina. She was new to Riverside High and trying to fit in.
Her counselor found some information about the reason she moved to Riverside High, but Sabrina is not ready to share her past with everyone just yet.
But we all know how news travels fast.
Does someone at Riverside High already know Sabrina's secret? How will everyone react?
How long will she be able to keep her secret before everyone knows about it?
I've been running away because I know you see through my camouflage. I can't find no reset or restart. I know you see through my camouflage.
It's lunchtime at Riverside High, and Sabrina is looking around the cafeteria to see who she can sit with.
Who should I sit with?
Hey, you can come sit with us. Hey y'all, this is Sabrina. Girl, sit down. How's your day been?
Oh, it's okay. There was this one guy in my class who wouldn't shut up. He just kept, hey!
Sabrina, this is my BFF Jasmine and her babe, Lucas.
Any of you got any perks?
Ew, Jason, why are you even over here?
So you got any or what? I'm trying to get ready for this party coming up.
You know I don't do none of that. You gotta talk to Bones. Tap in with him. He the plug.
I bet I'll hit him up after school. Thanks for the help, shawty.
Ew, get out of here, Jason, before I throw up. That's Jason. He's alright. He always do too many drugs for my taste. He always be looking for something. I mean, it's okay to do some stuff, I guess. But dang, how much do you need though? Do you do anything?
No, I don't do anything.
You good, girl?
Yeah. Why do you ask?
Because you got all quiet on me for a second. Plus, I noticed them looking at you. What's up? Why did you really move here?
I told you, I just needed a new start.
Well, it looks like your old life is catching up to you. Spill it.
It's a long story. Somebody...
Oh my God, this can't be true. Brandon got in a car accident on the way to school. He didn't make it.
What? I was just texting him.
Social media is one of the leading sources to teens today getting and abusing prescription drugs.
Snapchat, Facebook, and other social media platforms are poisoning thousands of teens by providing them access to prescription drugs that are laced with fentanyl.
Buying any kind of drugs on social media is a bad decision, and if you do it, it could be the last decision you ever make.
They have really good statistical information when it comes to when you read this up top, it says every 10 minutes someone dies from poisoning. I will tell you there is a big push now, especially with the youth, that it's not overdoses. These kids are being poisoned, plain and simple, because they don't know what they're taking and it's overloaded with fentanyl and it's a poisoning. We, the sheriff's office, and I know the PD is working on a couple cases, I get hit up all the time by victims' families of why aren't you prosecuting this as a homicide? It's very problematic. We do have state statutes that says if someone sells you an illegal drug and you die from it, we can charge you with that, but it's not homicide. So one of the things that we're gonna have to take a look at legislatively in this next session is how we can booster some of our state statutes to really start covering fentanyl. Because one of the things we found in the state statute right now is pressed pills aren't illegal unless we test them and there's fentanyl in them. And so pressed pills, we're going to have to fix that in state statute. However, the federal government has statutes to address this as well. The case that we're working on, we're taking it federally because you can get more time. And it's a form of homicide that can be charged there. I will tell you these are very difficult though, because you'll have parents of 25, 26-year-olds who actually said, I want the fentanyl pill. They know what they're buying. How do you charge that as a homicide when they know what they're buying and they've asked for it? It is very difficult, and I know if any of you have experienced this, I'm sorry the laws haven't caught up to it, but I don't know how we can fix that. Because if someone has a drug habit and they want fentanyl-laced drugs or the fentanyl pill, they're asking for it. Now, how would we ever be able to prove that they didn't ask for it? Because what do you think the drug dealer's going to say? Well, yeah, this is what they asked for, if they're smart. Yeah, they asked for the fentanyl pill. Yeah, I sold it to them, but that person knew that it could kill them. Those are the difficult things with trying to prosecute this. Possessing it or selling it, those type of things, that's like any other drug. We can do that. But it's the death part that is very difficult. So one thing that the Crime Commission has done, the Wichita Crime Commission is big into the youth as well. They help sponsor camps, those type of things. They've raised their tip line for a reward for anybody who is selling fentanyl. And if the tip comes out to be good, they're giving $2,500. That used to be $500. The fentanyl awareness banners. So what we did is we met with all of the superintendents of all the school districts in a 3-county area. We asked them, some of them came to the presentations. We asked them to put banners up and other educational awareness things inside their schools. So we had 100 banners that has gone up in numerous middle schools and high schools throughout the county and surrounding counties. So there's also information there where they can call what they call Speak Up in the schools, which is an anonymous tip line within the schools that goes to the Crime Commission to answer. So we're really trying hard to get it out to the kids. So again, we partnered with YEEP on November 9th. We had a teen drug summit, which there was probably about 150 kids, mainly from USD 259, but we also had them from surrounding schools where there was many booths set up for them to get education, and they went between 4 different rooms where they heard 4 different presentations, some of which was they were youth at the time, but they're 19 or 20 now, of their experience with this. And so it was a really well-attended event. Our plan is to continue to do it every year. We've also had some events out at Botanica, and Chicken and Pickle is coming up, where we take youth and take them to those different places to give them an experience that normally they haven't had before. And a lot of times it's from YEEP and from the school district. They give us names of kids that are probably more susceptible to this type of stuff, and we bus them in and then entertain them for about 4 hours. So how can you help in this? It's through education, plain and simple. If you are an employee, if you own a business, but if you're an employee of a business, please make your business aware that if they want any of this information, to contact us. If they want anything on their website, contact us. We'll get it to them. We've given, after the chamber event, there was about 30 different places that wanted the information. And so we got it out to 30 different businesses. Just like what you do here. Is that a news article for here? I'm sorry. Do you guys have a flyer for your neighborhood associations here? Yeah. Put out articles, videos like you're doing today on your websites. Post banners, posters in your workplace. The one poster that it shows the fentanyl with the penny and all that other stuff, post that at your work site. We are a 501c3 through the Crime Commission. Luckily, we had a donor that has given us $150,000 for this campaign, just here right before Christmas. And so I'm meeting with the Crime Commission this week to figure out how we want to split up some of that money. Some of that money is going to go to YEEP because, again, they're the ones that are communicating with these kids through social media. We did a couple of social media things through Sedgwick County where, I forget what they call them, it's the influencers. They do influencing on TikTok and these 2 guys were on TikTok. One was from here. He's a teacher from Southeast High School, and he has about 450,000 followers. So he did just a quick TikTok video about fentanyl and staying away from fentanyl. That was seen 700,000 times. The other person is from here but lives out in New York City. He did one as well. He has about 1 million followers. His was well over the millions of the people that viewed that. And so most of those are probably kids. That's the way we got to communicate with kids. It's a whole different thing than I've ever experienced. And so Yeep is the folks that are doing a really good job of that, because you know our thing is traditionally has been media and billboards and flyers. Kids ain't going to see any of that stuff nor read it. So we're trying to hit every media outlet, including social media, to do education on this. So these are some of the websites, like I said before. The DEA.gov, One Pill, will bring up a ton of information for you. Yeep, their website's on here, and also the sedgwickcounty.org drug misuse website. I will tell you that we are seeing the amount of seizures that we're seeing here in the Wichita, Sedgwick County area. We're well over 2 million pills we intercepted last year. Traditionally, when we do interdiction, if we're getting 10% that's coming in here, that's a really good year. I can tell you we're not even getting 10% of this stuff. And so that tells you how many pills are coming in here. I can't get into an investigation that we're working on right now. It's in the millions that they've been bringing in here. Yeah, so just to let you know, it is a big problem. It is killing people, and we've got to do a better job of law enforcement trying to eradicate it, but we can't do this ourselves, plain and simple. I will tell you another thing that I've had to change my mind on. When it comes to folks that are addicted, we have got to figure out a way to get them into rehab, because I don't know if you know it or not, but it takes 3 separate convictions for burglary to even go to prison. So all these folks that are breaking into cars or committing burglaries, they're not going to prison, folks. And you know why they're doing it? Because they're addicted to drugs. And so we've got to be able to do something, and I don't know if it's from a state standpoint where there's a state rehab system, but we got to allow the judges, because you go by a sentencing guidelines, is what we go here in Kansas. And a lot of these folks is just presumptive probation for a lot of stuff. But if they're drug addicted, and I can tell you 72% of the inmates that we have about 1,500 inmates, is drug addicted. Another 30% is has mental health issues. Some have both. And so, and those folks are in and out of jail all the time. And so if we can give the judges the opportunity to say, I can't put you in prison for doing the burglary, but I can put you in a rehab center for 6 months. We've kind of got to turn the corner here, because we've been fighting the war on drugs since '85, and anybody think we're winning? We're not winning. And I'm not saying, you know, this is coming from I was a pretty hard-nosed, charging kind of cop that the law is the law, but we're losing this. And we've got to figure out something else to do here. So with that, I'll take any questions. Yes, sir.
I would like to see if you would address the fact that the state legislature continues to criminalize fentanyl test strips.
Yeah, so right now fentanyl test strips falls in the same vein as contraband, and so it is illegal. I will tell you, and you know, the former chief, interim chief Lim Moore, he and I both sat down and talked, because there were several groups that came and contacted us about fentanyl test strips.
What are they used for?
It's to test your pill to see if there's fentanyl in it.
To see if it's going to kill you.
Yeah. And so, again, you know, I come from 2 mindsets on that. That is facilitating drug use, which, as in law enforcement, I shouldn't be doing. Or on the flip side of that, this is killing people, and if it saves somebody's life, okay. So what we chose to do, and I can tell you what the sheriff's office chose to do, if it's fentanyl test strips only, it's against the law, so we have to take your fentanyl test strip, but we write up just a normal case. It doesn't go through the detectives to look at charging, and it doesn't get charged. Now, if there's a fentanyl test strip and fentanyl pills, that's a different story, because you're in possession of an illegal narcotic at that point. It's not like you could take the fentanyl test strip and smoke it or ingest it and it's going to do the same thing as fentanyl. That's not what it does. So there is a push up at the state legislature this year to legalize those things. I will tell you, and I just talked to the guy in charge of narcotics over at the PD, we have not taken, nor has the PD, one single test strip. We've not seen them. So here in this community, that's how we chose to handle that. I don't like doing that a lot of times, because then people go, well, you're picking and choosing to not enforce the law on this, so why are you enforcing the law on this? So made an exception here, because if that's something that saves somebody's life, especially a young person, then okay.
Would you support making them legal?
So I'm the legislative chair of KSA, Kansas Sheriff's Association. Me personally, I do. The Kansas Sheriff's Association, a lot of sheriffs do not, because they look at it as, I'm just enabling this person to use drugs. And so we've taken a neutral stance as an association. If they pass, they pass. We're not going to argue against them. Yes, ma'am.
So I struggle a little bit with children who are in high school and understanding what they're going through with this. Why would a drug dealer want to kill all of their customers? Because it's killing so many more. And it's killing them young, right? They would have years of drug use if they looked at this like a business. What is the intention of making it this way that it's killing them? Because they're not going to be around to buy it.
So it's about the money. And of everyone that dies, there's 100, 150 that get addicted. They're still making money. Plain and simple. It's all about the money.
Are the sellers using it?
I'm sure they are. It's not like crack cocaine was very easy. You knew who was using crack cocaine. A lot of times the sellers were using crack. So when we had all the shootings and everything else that was going on back in the 90s, part of that was folks that were bringing the product in, they'd smoke half of it, and then they'd only give half the money back to whoever was giving it to them, and they get shot over it. So fentanyl, we're really not seeing that aspect of it yet, but yeah, I guarantee you some of these folks are using it. Yes, sir.
Well, I'd have to also point out that alcohol literally killed me when I was 17 years old. I passed out, I fell on my face, broke my teeth, I'm getting a dental implant now, and it's a difficult subject. It really is. And minerals, when I'm getting an implant put in, I don't take those because I'm uncomfortable.
Yep.
I would like to interject that we thought as a board that our neighborhood thought it was so important. With some anonymous donations, our neighborhood chose to help fund a professional video man. It will be available on YouTube, and it should be able to have the videos. Is that correct? We'll try. We're going to work on that. So we will let you know. I've got names of those who signed in, and I'll let you know how to get a hold of that YouTube video.
Yes, sir.
My question is going to combine two topics, really.
Okay.
One of them would be kind of the site contamination, and then another one would just be kind of the the side casualties. And the example that I would give is one of my best friends used to be a sheriff detective, and he was years ago. He was telling me, we went into this one house for a complaint, but we knew that he had a drug history. I start around in the corner of this room. I see a car battery and I see a milk jug. We left. Because he's like, that could be a meth lab in there, and if I hit that table wrong, I might be gone before we could get EMS out here. So it became a hazmat site. That was for meth. And so now you're talking about something that just milligrams can get you. So, like a hypothetical, if somebody came to your house and you found out later, hey, this is a fentanyl user, they left their coat here. You know, so.
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you. Yeah.
At what point should you be worried about being around?
So fentanyl itself, if it's in the powder form or kind of like the salt crystal form, you touch that, you can overdose and die because it will absorb through your fingers. The pill form, it will not, because the pills are made up mostly of binding that keeps the pill together, and so if it's a powder form, yeah, we're going to treat it like we used to treat meth labs. And so, you know, they've had some seizures out in New York City that they seized enough of this stuff that every resident in New York City, if they would have ingested a piece of it, would have died. That's how many pounds of this stuff in powder form that's coming through. We have one powder form case right now that came through here that we intercepted. Yes, ma'am.
Where can you get Narcan if I don't understand?
Yeah, so right now you can get it in a pharmacy for about $70 a dosage, which is about that big. Safe Streets Wichita, and then also DECA does have it. They'll give you the training on it, but you know, they run out of it fairly quickly too.
Okay. I work with a lot of kids. I don't know if that's something you should just.
Kids, you said?
Yeah.
In a school system?
I teach privately. I have a lot of high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. All the schools nowadays are getting Narcan into their schools, so the nurses have it. Go ahead, ma'am.
Are we making any synthetic here, or is it all coming from Mexico?
We have not interdicted or anything, any pill mills here. So, well, not anymore. One thing the state legislature did a phenomenal job on, you can't buy more than, 2 boxes of Sudafed? Well, that stopped all the meth labs here. So all the meth started coming in from Mexico as well. Yes, ma'am. Forgot. Okay.
Where is fentanyl produced?
So, that's an opioid, and so all of that's being shipped in from Southeast Asia, China. No, it's an opioid. So fentanyl is an opioid, and that's all, you know, poppy plants and those type of things in Southeast Asia. It gets shipped over to Mexico. They put the binding, they do the mixing in the big vats and all that other stuff, and they throw the stuff in there, all the binding, everything else, and then they press it into these pills.
How does it differ from heroin?
So heroin's an opioid as well. This is stronger than heroin. It's from the same vein. I mean, they're all opioids. Some of them aren't as strong as others. Heroin's very strong until fentanyl came in the form that it's coming now, and now that's even stronger. And then now you have people that are mixing fentanyl with heroin and injecting it. Yes, ma'am.
Most of these gangs, they're going to suppress their behavior with person.
I'm sorry, what was that again, ma'am?
This stuff, it suppresses their behavior. Okay, between uppers and downers, okay, like that.
Yeah,
but you said something about, I think, about mixing it with meth, which is, and then what do you get?
Well, according to, yeah.
I'm sorry, I've run into people.
Yeah, no, it's you know, so cocaine is something that's it's not a depressant like marijuana is. Most of the time when you smoke marijuana, you're kind of, you know, just down. Cocaine is not that way. You mix that with fentanyl, you're still going to have the cocaine effect, but an ultimate high. Methamphetamine's the same way. You're running, you know, bouncing off the walls, all that stuff. But you will have fentanyl in with it, which you'll still bounce off the walls, but you're going to have more of an intense high because of the fentanyl. Heroin is a depressant as well. It can depress some of the stuff that you have going on, but you throw fentanyl in it, and it suppresses your respiratory system is what it does. It slows your breathing way down.
But if it's a painkiller, it's also a stimulant, a high?
Not all painkillers are.
The fentanyl.
Yeah, fentanyl.
They're getting
they're getting high, but it is, you don't see fentanyl users that are like cocaine users and methamphetamine where they're bouncing off the walls. It is a opioid. Opioids are depressants. And so they, you know, because they're depressing your system. Mm-hmm.
Let's thank Sheriff Easter for being with us.
Yeah, thank
you
you.
so much.
Appreciate it. Hope you learned something.